Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus A330 pilot, and welcome back to the next mini review of the iniBuilds Airbus A340. Today we're going to have a look at the external model of the aircraft, and for the purpose of this video I have applied the full dirt and weathering that you can select in the electronic flight bag, because, well, it's an A340, and since those are rather old aircraft, I thought it would only be appropriate to apply some of these to the aircraft. Now rest assured though that if an operator has just repainted the aircraft, they may still look very new, but I kind of thought it was appropriate for the purpose of this video. Alright then, let's go ahead and start, and I'm going to do this in the form of a standard walk around that we're going to follow, so that you guys are going to be able to experience not just what the outside model looks like, but also going to be able to tell how a real pilot would be checking their airplane and what kind of focus a real pilot would put on the particular parts of the aircraft in question. I will occasionally be showing off some stuff that wouldn't be part of the actual walk-around, but without any further ado, let's get straight into this. So we're starting right down here on the static ports, and I think they're a great example of the level of detailing that iniBuilds has put into the outside model. You can see very fine lines over here, and you can even see all the rivets and everything that are in the fuselage over here. Very nice level of detail, and I really have to say that from this little bit of distance, so from the normal walk-around perspective, this looks exactly like things would look on a real aircraft. Now from here, very nice look at some dirt on the fuselage here, which has been added from the EFB, and that also goes further to the back here. Now you may ask, or you may wonder, why is there dirt like at the very bottom here? Well, obviously because of the nose wheel and because of the effects that like water that's on the runway that may be spraying behind the wheels have on the airplane. Now from here we're moving forward a little bit, and we got the external power access panel over here. You can open and close that, by the way. Over here the external power plugs are plugged in when an external power unit is requested, and you also have things like an APU shutdown and a fire extinguisher button over here. You've got the pilot call buttons and that lovely stuff. Now from here, again, very nice level of details on the nose wheel doors over here. And talking about the nose wheel, let's go ahead and have a look. So even at the areas that are rather difficult to see, we can see a good level of modeling inside the wheel well over here, and the landing gear itself looks really good. So would be nice to have a little bit more dirt at the very front over here. This is maximum level of weathering right now, and you do collect a lot of flies on the front over here, so it would be nice if a little bit more of those were modeled over here. But apart from that, very nice looking landing gear. A couple of things that you do see here over here is the landing light, the nose light, which should look a little bit different than the landing light, by the way. They seem to have copy pasted the file here, and in the real world it would look a little bit different. And then of course you've got the runway turn-off lights located down here. Now then let's go a little bit further to the front, and on this side you can see quite a bit of stuff. So we start with the AOA vane over here. Then on this side we do have the pitot tubes, we do have the TAT probe, and then down here we've got the ice detectors. Also a nice level of detail is the seals that you can see on the avionics access doors that we've got in the front over here. These lead right into the avionics bay, and they got to be sealed so that we can ensure that there's not been any unauthorized access to the aircraft, and those seals are actually in place over here. That looks pretty cool. Now moving a little bit up to the front, again it would be nice if we had a little bit of dirt and weathering on the nose due to all the insects that you squash during a flight, but apart from that, nice level of modeling. Looks exactly like the A330 that I'm used to from work. Now then on this side we got the oxygen discharge disc, which again is looking pretty good. It's got to be green over here when you do the walk around. Make sure that it's not red or black or missing. Then we do have another couple of AOA vanes on this side, and if you're wondering why I cannot really move around well here, that's because of the GPUs that are located right down here. Now, you can operate a lot of the hatches over here. For example, the cargo door, can operate that down here. Cargo door loading operation, well, can't hit this one, and up here there would be a lever that you can use to operate the door in the real world. But we got the door for the time being. We do have a couple of levers with doors that we can open though, but this is definitely not one that a pilot would ever touch. So if you don't have loading staff, then nothing will go into and out of the aircraft. So I can understand that they didn't do that one. Now again, getting to the bottom of the airframe, we see a lot of very nice dirt down here. Again, very good level of details, like look at all those screws and all the stuff you see here. Also nice level of detail inside the beacon down here. And if we're already down here, then there's a couple of things that we can do underneath the aircraft here. So we got a couple of those hatches simulated. For example, over here you can open the main landing gear doors. Let's go ahead and do that. So we pull the handle, and you can see the hydraulic pressure is released, the door swings open. Now, in here you got a couple of stairs, so that you can actually climb in here. Makes for great photos. Hint, don't show them to your employer or you might get into trouble. Also, you can nicely see some of the parts of the center wheel assembly in there. Talking about the center wheel, let's go ahead and have a look at that. So this is what it looks like. The only reason why the center wheel exists on the A340 is so that you could get a lower pavement classification number certification. In other words, so that there isn't too much weight on each of those individual wheels. However, the airplane is allowed to be operated with the center wheel fixed in the up position, so you can operate it like that. Alright then, let's walk back to the front and we get to the leading edges, and over here you see something that's very typical for the A340 and A330 wings. And that's the fact that the leading edges of the slats are actually not flush with the wing. That's not a bug, that's actually a feature. And, well, if you ask two instructors, you're gonna get three opinions as to why it's done that way. But, that's really what it looks like on the real airplane. Now we get to the engines. Those are CFM56 engines, which you are already used to from the 737 or A320. However, the cowling is a little bit different, so that the airflow is distributed differently. And something that's really nice is that you actually have, once again, a good level of detail over here. Everything is looking pretty good. Now, back here, somewhere down here, you got the thrust reversal lockout pins, which must not be installed. If they were, you would see some big red pins sticking out over here. Again, very nice modeling of the leading edge of the fan blades over here as well. And, well, then let's move on along the wings. So up here is the refueling panel. That one, as far as I can tell, is not simulated. At least I found no way to open it. Over here we got the second engine, and this one we can actually walk underneath. And I want to use that to show you that we're actually able to open these if we click on the hatches down here. And like that you can open up those engine cowlings. Nice little detail, looks great inside. Obviously doesn't really matter for practical operation. No, it doesn't. But then again, it's a nice little toy to have these. So let's go ahead and close that again. And when you do the walk around, make very sure that those hatches are actually closed and latched, and that they don't stick out down here. Otherwise you're gonna get spectacular videos on YouTube of your own takeoff, which you really don't want. So we're walking along the wing and we can nicely see the weathering that's located all over here. Really, really good job with that. We got an operational nav light, and yes, we only have a single one of the two illuminated, depending on whether you have the switch in the one or the two position. But again, looks really phenomenal over here. Also in here you do want to see that white cross. Not very easy to see, but you can kind of see it visible down here. Okay, so let's walk along the trailing edge again, and over here we got the nozzle for the fuel jettison system. And then going all the way to the back, we can start moving towards the tailplane. Well, there is one more thing that we can show down here. That should be located somewhere here, a little bit dirty. But let's see, I think here it is. That's the refueling panel that we can open. In here we do get the lights illuminated. Unfortunately we don't get fuel quantities shown over here yet, but I kind of hope that they are going to add that in the future, maybe even make it interactable. Even though I gotta say that as a pilot, I basically am not supposed to touch this. Sometimes what we do during the walkaround is to check that the pre-selected fuel quantity up here has been correctly set, and sometimes the fuelers, you know, don't set that like completely accurately, then you might increase it by 100 or 200 kilos. But that's the only thing that you're supposed to do there as a pilot. Now, when that door of the refueling panel is open, then you are going to get the refueling indication in the cockpit, and in a moment, when we go back up to the cockpit, we'll see if that's actually simulated. For the time being though, let's continue aft of the airplane. Flight recorder is located in there. Now, again, modeling is just fantastic. Since there is a trim tank in the tailplane, we got to check that we see the white cross in here as well. And if you're about to say that this is hardly visible, then you are absolutely right about that, and that is absolutely realistic. These things wear down pretty quickly, and especially on older aircraft, very, very hard to see. Now, on the ground over here, we can see the position of our stabilizer, and we can see a little problem here. Look at the current setting of the stabilizer, which is around about 0, but you can see this marking ground set. So it should be a little bit further down, should be over here. So that's a little thing that we found here. Next thing for us to do would be to go to the cockpit and check the reason why, then perhaps consult maintenance and see what's going on. Now, getting back to the main landing gear, next to all the lovely stuff that we can see over here, there's a couple of things we need to check. So, first things first, the condition of the tires, and iniBuilds models wear and tear on your tires. That means they will wear down over time until you might have to replace them. Now, if you're lazy, you're just going to look into the maintenance page on the electronic flight bag. But if you're not, then you're actually going to have a good look at the tires down here. Something else that you can see, and that is modeled, is the brake wear indicator pins down here. Those are only measurable when the parking brake is set, and they gotta stick out of the metal, and if they are flush with the metal, then you know that the brakes have to be replaced. Now, on this particular aircraft, we don't have brake fan installed. For that reason, you don't see the brake fan over here. And again, nice modeling. Would be nice if we had a couple more insects and stuff like that on the leading edges, but apart from that, good modeling throughout the landing gear. Now, the left wing obviously is similar to the right wing, so let's not walk all the way there. But there is one thing that I want to show you, and that's the retraction of the landing gear doors once you have extended them using the lever here. So if you just put that thing back up, nothing happens. In order to be able to retract those, you need to pressurize the hydraulic system. The entire main landing gear is, and the nose landing gear, the entire landing gear is actuated by the green hydraulic system. So let's quickly go inside and check whether the refueling message is shown when the refueling panel is open, and then we're going to turn on the electric hydraulic pump to be able to actually retract those landing gear doors down here. So follow me inside. Yeah, refueling message is missing, that's a bug. And well, then let's go ahead and turn on the green electric pump over here. And on. Now let's go back out again. We should actually hear the pump operating, so there's some room for improvement here. You should hear that typical hydraulic pump sound all over the place. Well, and now let's go back here and bring that lever back into the up position, and then the door is gonna retract, as you can see. Looks nice. Alright. Obviously this should be accompanied by a loud hydraulic pump sound, but I suppose I'll report that one as a bug, and then they're hopefully gonna add it later. Alright then, and that's our look at the external modeling of the Airbus A340. Now, there is one more thing that I want to show you. That's if we look at all the dirt and stuff that we see down here, if you go inside and take a look at the electronic flight bag, then we can see that you got a slider for both the dirt and the weathering that you want on your aircraft, and you can control those dynamically. And something that's also simulated is shooting the emergency slides. So let's go ahead and arm that one right door over here. Well, gotta do it down here. Now the door is armed, and now I'm gonna shoot that slide. Let's see if we can see it from here, or if I've been too slow. Yeah, there's the slide. Now let's go ahead and go back out one more time. And now that it's appropriately raining outside, let's actually go ahead and clean that airplane, shall we? So I'm going to remove that dirt and that weathering over here. And now let's go back outside and have a look. You can see there's still a little bit on the airplane, but if you look down here, all that dirt that we've seen previously has now been removed from the aircraft. That's a pretty nice thing. Now, having a look at the slide over here, that's what it looks like. And well, very nice level of detail that we got in here. Unfortunately not able to walk upstairs. That would have been a nice little addition. But overall very, very neat looking and a nice little addition to the aircraft. Especially when combined with GSX, which has a tendency to sometimes open the door during taxi in this airplane. But that would be for another story. So overall, how would I rate the external model of the iniBuilds Airbus A340? Now, mashallah, standing in the way. Now, I would absolutely say that this is a very good model. I'd give it a 9 out of 10 because of a small couple of things. Let's actually make that 9.5, because it would be nice if they had a little bit more detailing with, first of all, the correct taxi light, and then also some stuff like more insects where they belong and a bit of stuff like that. But overall, I think it is a very convincing model of an Airbus A340, and I'm really looking forward to do walkarounds along this, perhaps in some slightly better weather conditions. But I think for the time being, that's all that I got for you on the external model. So thank you very much for watching. As always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and then I'm really looking forward to see you all again on the next one.